Someone says, "You can tell me anything." So you finally tell the truth. Then the face across from you changes. The questions turn into an interrogation. Your shame becomes a lecture. Your private words become someone else's story. Or the listener takes over so completely that your confession becomes an assignment. The listener is now determined to manage. That's the painful paradox. A promise of safety isn't proof of safety. The proof arrives in what the person does after hearing something difficult. And being safe to tell the truth too doesn't mean approving everything, removing every consequence, or taking responsibility for another adult's life. In this episode, I want to give you a practical sequence for the first few minutes after someone shares something vulnerable. You learn how to receive the truth without punishment, preserve agency and privacy, and still address conduct that needs accountability. Safety is something people can see. As the book OLNE describes it, open communication happens without fear of psychological punishment and emotional blackmail. Openness is inspired, not coerced. So, safety isn't proved by saying, "Tell me." It becomes visible in what happens next. Can you listen without shaming, respect privacy without prying, and hear something uncomfortable without withdrawing affection or using it later as leverage? The book makes it clear you can receive a person without beginning from condemnation and still refuse harmful conduct. Vaknin distinguishes withdrawal used to punish from withdrawal driven by fear, and warns that disclosed vulnerability may later be used to attack, undermine, exploit, or gain leverage. One difficult response doesn't prove a motive, define a whole relationship, or establish a diagnosis. So focus on the visible response and the larger pattern. So, what happens after disclosure is very important. Two diary studies found that disclosure was associated with intimacy partly through whether the response left a person feeling understood, validated, and cared for. Disclosure is only half the event. The receiver's response counts. So let's make this concrete with River and Casey from our previous examples. River says, "I need to tell you something. I've been avoiding the bills. I used money we had set aside for rent to cover a debt I was ashamed to tell you about. I know this affects you, and I was scared to say it." Casey could interrupt, demand every detail at once, call River a terrible person, start texting friends, or make River comfort Casey before River has even finished speaking. Casey could also rush into rescue mode, seize every account, make a complete life plan, and treat River as incapable of participating. None of these responses helps Casey understand what happened in the first few minutes. Casey can receive River's vulnerability without pretending the conduct was acceptable. That's the skill. Here's the consequence. Let me show you what it looks like. In the first few minutes, one, settle the first reaction. Your first feeling may be shock, anger, fear, disgust, or confusion. You don't need to erase that feeling. You do need to stop the first surge from becoming punishment. Casey puts both feet on the floor, takes a breath, and says, "I can hear that this was hard for you to tell me. I want to understand before I respond." If Casey is too activated to continue responsibly, Casey can name a pause in return, rather than storming away or making River chase an answer. Settling isn't performing calm while resentment builds. It's creating enough space to choose the next action. The observable action is simple: lower the volume, stop the interruption, and give the speaker room to finish. Number two, receive before interpreting. Listen for what River is actually saying before deciding what River's disclosure proves about River's character, motives, or future. Don't begin with cross examination. Don't turn the moment into a speech about what you would have done. Don't force more disclosure than River offered. Casey says, "Tell me what you need me to understand first." That sentence invites River to complete the central truth without giving Casey unlimited access to every private thought. Casey can ask necessary questions later, especially because the missing money affects a shared obligation. Receiving first doesn't cancel Casey's right to information that Casey needs for an informed decision. The third thing you need to do in the first few minutes is reflect and check. Now, say back the meaning you heard, then check whether you got it right. Casey says, "You used the rent money to cover a debt, then avoided telling me because you felt ashamed and expected this conversation to go badly." Did I understand that correctly? River can correct the reflection. Maybe fear was more important than shame. Maybe the money covered only part of the debt. Reflecting isn't declaring River's account complete or factually settled, it's checking the message before building a response to it. In one experiment, active listening responses produced more felt understanding than advice or simple acknowledgments. The narrow lesson is useful: reflect and check before you assume you understand. Fourth thing you need to do in the first few minutes is ask what kind of response is wanted. Don't mind read the form of care. Ask. Casey says, "What would help in the next 10 minutes? Do you want me to listen? Help you think through what comes next? Work on a concrete task with you? Or just sit with you while we take this in?" River says, "Listen first. Then I want us to look at the account together." Support should fit what the person actually needs. That's why Casey asked instead of assuming. The book Owalani encourages to invite feedback, follow what the person communicates, and ask again when the need changes. The listener still has boundaries though. Casey can say, "I can listen now and review the account tonight. I can't call the lender for you or take over all of your finances." Support leaves River with choices. Rescue replaces River's choices with Casey's plan. So before moving on, Casey can ask, does that fit what you need right now?" Then Casey respects River's answers without pretending Casey has unlimited capacity. The fifth thing you can do in the first few minutes is name the privacy and its limits. Privacy should be the default, but don't promise absolute secrecy. Casey says, "I won't share this casually or use it against you later. Because this affects our rent, I may need private advice or qualified help. I'll share only what's needed, and when it's safe, I'll tell you first." Remember that danger can change the limit. If someone may face imminent suicide risk or a credible threat, a medical emergency, or an immediate child safety risk, seek appropriate crisis or emergency help. A disclosure of adult abuse or coercion doesn't automatically give you permission to expose the survivor's information or take over. Ask about safety, support the survivor's choices, and seek qualified local help when danger or law requires it. Number six thing you can do in the first few minutes is separate the person experience, conduct, and accountability. Validation is not agreement. In the book OLNE, validation means recognizing that another person's internal experience is real and important, even when you don't share the interpretation. You can understand fear and shame without saying the missing money was acceptable. Casey says, I believe that you were ashamed and afraid to tell me. I don't think that makes you worthless. I also don't agree with using money committed to rent or hiding the decision that affected both of us. I need to see the account, know the current shortfall, and decide what boundary I need around shared finances. Notice the separations. River is a person, not a label. Shame and fear are real internal experiences. River's explanation can be heard without becoming the only interpretation. Using the money and hiding the decision are conduct. The repair is observable too. River shows the relevant account and debt records, identifies the current shortfall, stops moving shared money without agreement, participates in a plan to protect the rent, and follows the update process River and Casey agree to. Casey can seek independent advice and set limits on access to shared funds. Those actions don't guarantee restored trust. They make follow through accessible, one's ability to assess them. Emotional safety doesn't remove every uncomfortable consequence. Accountability names the conduct, impact, needed repair, and boundary without humiliation. Humiliation turns you did something harmful into you are beneath respect. Casey doesn't need to choose between pretending nothing happened and destroying River's dignity. Finally, number 7 is follow through. A safe landing isn't proved only inside the conversation, it's proved by what happens next. If Casey says, let's look at the account at 7, Casey returns at 7. If Casey needs more time, Casey communicates that before leaving River in uncertainty. Casey doesn't gossip about the disclosure, bring it up as a joke, or use River's shame as leverage in a later disagreement. River follows through, too, by showing the account, participating in the practical repair, and respecting Casey's boundaries. River may want the company tonight and practical help tomorrow. Casey can ask again instead of assuming the first answer lasts forever. And the book OLNE treats reliability, confidence, keeping, boundaries, and autonomy as conditions that support intimacy. Follow through gives the original invitation meaning. Now, let me just go over where this practice does not belong. Do not turn the sequence into a joint communication exercise where coercive control, intimidation, stalking, violence, sexual coercion, or credible threats are present. Let your response become the evidence. The goal isn't to become perfectly calm, endlessly available, or incapable of making a mistake. It's to make your response more observable and less punishing. Settle the first reaction, receive before interpreting, reflect and check. Ask what kind of response is wanted. Name privacy and its limits. Separate the person and experience from conduct and accountability. Then follow through. River may choose to disclose again, or River may not. Casey isn't entitled to more truth as a reward for using the sequence. One good response doesn't guarantee trust, intimacy, healing, or future disclosure. It simply gives honesty a better place to land. So when someone tells you something difficult, don't rush to prove that you're safe. Let your conduct provide the evidence. Protect the person's dignity without erasing the impact. Offer support without taking over. Keep privacy without making an impossible promise. Hold accountability without humiliation. That's how openness becomes inspired instead of coerced. That's how "you can tell me" starts becoming something another person can actually believe. Thank you for watching this video. Good luck. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
I know the shape of you running away. I know the night you were made that way. So I sat with the door and I let it stay. I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, with the cracks in the weather, leaving you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I won't try to fix what made you so. You bite your tongue when the room gets still. You make a small fire out of your will. I used to think love meant to cure. Now I want the ache and the parts that blur. I know the ghosts you keep fed at night. I know the old fear that wears your face right. So I hold your hand and I don't make it right. I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, with the cracks in the weather, the leaving you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I won't try to fix what made you so. If you shake apart, I'll still be near. If you go quiet, I'll still hear. Not as a savior, not as a saint, just the one who stays when the hurt won't faint. I love you, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, with the cracks in the weather, the leaves